Hello everyone, I am Rodina Gjuhë and today we've got another topic which is intensifiers and also comparative adjectives and adverbs. The book that you're using is Live Beat 4. We've got comparative adjectives which are used to compare two things, two situations, and so on. We know that we've got short adjectives and long adjectives. As long as we've got the comparative degree, we will see that ER is the ending for the short adjective and more is added whenever we've got long adjectives. As you can see, the first example, John is thinner than Bob. Thinner is a short adjective. It's more expensive to travel by train than by bus. Here we've got a long adjective and the comparative degree, of course. And also, my house is smaller than my friend's house. Again, a comparative degree and a short adjective. We know that adverbs have also got the comparative degree. One of the jobs of an adverb is to modify a verb action. For example, Joey ran fast. Here we can see that it is showing in some kind of way the manner of how Joey's ran, how he ran actually. If we want to compare one verb action with another, we can use a comparative adverb. For example, Joey ran fast, but Mary came first because she ran faster. We use comparative adverbs when talking about two actions, not three or more actions. Comparison is always between two things. Here we've got some examples, and you will use this task to identify comparative adverbs. The first one, if you don't study harder, you will fail your exam. And here we can see that harder is the adverb that is the correct one for this sentence. If we discuss hardly and more hard, they are incorrect. The second one, after the accident, he drives more carefully now. According to the context, we can see that more carefully is the appropriate adverb for the sentence. The third one, she speaks better than before. We've got the comparative degree, and of course that here we will use than. Mary can run faster than Jane. Again, we will continue with comparative adjectives and see the difference between the usage of comparative adverbs and comparative adjectives. The first one is, Jake's room is smaller than Larry's room. The blue car is nicer than the black car. This exercise is more boring than that one. His pullover is darker than his jeans. And the last one, Susan's hair is longer than my hair. Of course that we know that adjectives describe names, or actually nouns, and the comparative adverbs modify the verb. Let's continue with grammar, and here we will see more about intensifiers such as much, far, a lot, a bit, with comparative adjectives and adverbs. Comparative adjectives. It's much, far, a lot, a bit cheaper to live at home than travel abroad. So you can use all these intensifiers to define the way that you're using this adjective. In this case, is cheaper. This job is as exciting as people think, or if we put it to the negative, it's this job is not as exciting as people think. Then we've got the comparative adverbs, which we discussed that modify the verb. I can get a job in a shop much, far, a lot, a bit, or more easily than in a studio. And the second example is it costs much, far, a lot, a bit, more or less to live at home. And they don't pay as badly as you think. Below you will see the rules by which we will use comparative adjectives or comparative adverbs. To make a comparison stronger, you add words like much, far, a lot before the comparative adjective. And to compare two things which may be the same, you use as, or not as. Please see the magazine article, which is in your books, and then you will list the adjectives and the adverbs in your notebooks. Now we will continue with practicing, which is complete with a comparative form of the adjective or adverb in brackets, or use as. The first example says, today is far hotter than yesterday. The second one, this bed is much more comfortable than my old one. The third is, can you try to write a bit more carefully? The fourth one is, Angelina is just as famous as Brad. The fifth one is, I feel a lot worse today than yesterday. The sixth, please, can you drive a little bit more slowly? The seventh one, teaching isn't as well paid as web designing. And the eighth one is, I see my grandparents a lot more frequently now than before. Now we will continue with comparing the choices for school leavers. Here you will use a comparative form of the adjectives, as in exercise 3, and also intensifiers. Compare the activities using the information given. Now we will continue with comparing two activities using the information given. We will be using much more, a bit more, as, or not as. The first sentence is combined by saying, doing voluntary work is much more difficult than backpacking. So here we can see that difficult is the adjective that we are using. The second one is, doing voluntary work is a bit more interesting than backpacking, always according to the sign that we've got in the first line. Then we've got the third one, which is backpacking is not as dangerous as doing voluntary work. The fourth one is backpacking is as rewarding as doing voluntary work. And the fifth one is doing voluntary work is much more useful than backpacking. So this is an example that you'll be using for your task that you had previously. Thank you everyone for your attention. I'll see you next class and have a great day.